Welcome back to Books and Beyond with That Guy Jay. I am, of course, your host, That Guy Jay, and I am joined once again by Supportive Dad. Thank you so much for hanging out with me again in this gray area week between Christmas and New Year's.
Dude, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be back on it and talk with you.
And the goal of today's episode is we've discussed ahead of time a few categories where we're going to give some of our top reads from each category, kind of compare and just kind of wrap up 2025. We're 2 days away from the new year.
It's gonna be a great time. I'll be 33 on New Year's Day, so this is
Oh, that's exciting.
I don't know if it's exciting. I didn't know I'd make it there, but
But
yeah,
here we
no, I'm
are.
excited.
So overall, before we jump into the categories, how do you feel like your 2025 reading year went?
I think so it was the first year that I have read traditional novels again, consistently. I think as we discussed last time, I was, like,
Yeah.
really heavy into, like, graphic novels for a long time, so this was the first year that predominantly traditional novels were what I read, and I think it went great. I have had the conversation, and I think even I touched on it last time, is like, is this the best year of reading I'll ever have? You know, like, how many great stories are there really out there? And I feel like I had such a good year of reading that I'm nervous that I won't be able to live up to this year of reading ever again.
I think you will. I felt that way a couple years ago when I got back into reading too, when I first started getting some recs from Book Talk. But then I look back at this year and I'm like, I didn't read a ton of fantasy this year, but I also read some of the best books I've ever read. They're just in
Yeah.
categories that I wouldn't have usually thought to read.
You know what? I appreciate that. I think that there's a lot of merit to exploring other types of stories, and I'm hopeful that that's what happens for me, because I have found that over the last couple of, like, really, like, trying to amass certain books, I've forcibly pushed myself away from fantasy and sci-fi and tried to find things in other genres that I can read over the next year, and I'm hoping that some of them, like, really hit the mark for me.
Yeah, there's a ton of and one of them actually. Wait, it's, like, considered a classic. I think it's from, like, the '60s, and it's kinda made a resurgence, and I'll get to that when we go into our list, but I read it back in, I think, the end of January, and it hung in there all year as one of my top reads for the whole year.
That's it. When I was making my list, I was like, "Wow, I read this back in February." Like, that's awesome. How was your year in reading? How would you
It
say it
was
went?
good. It was really good. I generally I tried to hit 100 books because I hit 100 last year, and at the beginning of the December, I was at, like, 78, and I was like, I could read a novella a day. I did that last year, and I got to, like, 108, and I really pushed the last month, and I was like nothing was sticking, though, so I was just like I gave up on that, and that kind of freed up my mind for December, but I think I learned a lot about myself as a reader, which is pretty cool this far into my reading journey. Discovered some new genres that I like, discovered some new types of stories that I like, and I read a ton of sci-fi, which, at the beginning of the year, which was kinda like my roots. I started as a sci-fi guy, so it was pretty cool to get back to that, and I had a lot of fun, like, group reads. I did a couple buddy reads. It was a really fun year. Like, I don't know if it's my best reading year ever. I think some of the books could be in contention for best books ever, but it was definitely a really fun year.
I wonder if, depending on how, like, social media and, like, the longevity of TikTok and YouTube and these social media platforms will go, if we'll get, like, deathbed lifetime, reading top 10s later on sometime down the road. It's like, "I read this in '26, and it stuck with me all the way through '87."
Yeah.
Um, Honestly, from 2026 to 2087 would be a phenomenal run. So,
It would.
that'll be really cool.
I'm gonna finish one more book. I'm at, like, 55%, and it's not that long of a book, and I'm ending the year with sci-fi. Started with sci-fi, ending with sci-fi. And I'm real excited to jump into some stuff for 2026 because I kinda got to a point the last maybe month and a half where I'm like, I'm not really sure I wanna read that because it's like I kinda wanna start next year with that. Like, there's some series that I wanna jump back into, but I'm like, let me do that next year." I think I haven't officially decided, but I think 2026 is gonna be my year of trying to wrap up some series. I've made the joke for 2 years now that I'm a serial series starter. I gotta finish some.
I am I made a video about, like, series I am looking to finish, in 2026, and I realized that, because I think you and I are kind of on the opposite end, I was a serial series finisher, like, I would not finish a series or I would not start another series until I had finished the one I was reading, and then Red Rising just completely broke that for me. While I did finish the first half of it, I didn't wanna tackle the back half, and for some reason, that planted the seed in my head that I could just move on from a series and read a book 1 and book 2 and then not read a book 3 or whatever the case is. So I'm kind of on that train. I want to prioritize finishing the series that I've started, and I don't want to end 2026 with series unfinished if the author has finished them. Um, that's kind of my personal goal is if an author has finished the series and it is available, I don't want to start it if I'm not gonna finish it.
Yeah, that's valid because I used to be like, I would binge a series. I would sometimes wait until they were complete to start because I knew I was a binger, and then Book Talk happened, and I just really, like, shiny rock syndrome. Is like, I saw so many books, and I'm like, "That sounds awesome, I'm gonna read it." And then I'd see another series right as I finished, I'm like, "Oh, that looks awesome, I'm gonna start it."
Yeah, like, I I had so many plans for December, and then I started reading The Faithful and the Fallen, and, like, my wife has told me every single day of December 'cause I completely, like, failed on my book club reads for the last 2 months. My own book club, I didn't read last month's pick, and I've not read this month's pick, and I have 1 day to read it.
Oh, wow.
Um, like, it I I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think when someone chooses a book for me, I just don't want to read it. I've gotten to that point now, especially, like, at the end of the year, I hit my reading goal. I've been kind of, like, creeping through December, but I was supposed to read, Merry Christmas, You Filthy Animals by Megan Quinn, and I started reading Malice and have just Malice, Valor, I've got maybe 250 pages left in maybe 200 left in Ruin, and I will go on to, Wrath. I had to look to make sure that's the right title, but, like, I have to binge it. It was so good. And I found that throughout the year, anytime that I started a series that I just loved, unless the book wasn't out, I was, like, going to read the next one, after like I said, after Red Rising, and then I would just see, like you said, Shiny Rock Syndrome, like, "Oh, I should read this," or "I should read this," or "I should read this," and there were so many series that I started this year that I can't let myself do it next year.
Yeah, I need to pull myself together with that. Faithful and the Fallen is one of the series that I'm for sure because 'cause I've read Malice, and then I have the other 3, and I haven't touched them. So that series is one, and The Expanse, which is a huge
Yeah.
series. So between those 2 series, I think I have 4 or 5 left in The Expanse and 3 left in The Faithful and the Fallen. So that's a fairly good chunk of thick books. So those 2 series, I for sure wanna finish, and then I need to get back into Robin Hobb here, and I wanna read this trilogy. So it's like, I've got, just with those 3 series, I'm like, "Dang, that's actually a lot of pages." So I
Yeah.
think next year, my book count might be lower. I think my page count will probably be about on par, but I'm just already, like, kinda preparing myself mentally for that, is like, I'm also trying to work on some goals that aren't, like, numerical. Like some reading goals outside of numbers, because I don't wanna get stuck in chasing the number.
Yeah. I definitely, um I got a little nervous about setting a reading goal in general, especially having just come back to reading traditional novels. I was seeing like, "Oh, these are my goals for 2025," and it didn't seem like something that I really wanted to participate in, and then I just kind of arbitrarily threw out the number 50 because in my brain, that was easy.
Oh, yeah.
And I think now I'm at 53. Like I hit my goal and then it just kind of hit a standstill. After it was after you and I talked, I finished Sword of Kaigen. I read Sword of Kaigen, and after that one, I just kind of like couldn't make myself read stuff. Um, but I really want to do Robin Hobb myself. I have, the first book of The Expanse. I wanna do, Malazan or Malazan, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, me either.
Um, but then I have, like, the Sun Eater series, which is full finished now. I wanna read that, and then, like, I started the Dandelion Dynasty series. I have to finish that. I have to finish The World of the First Law. There's so much stuff, and I just again, it's like the sheer
I'm in the middle of almost every series you just
Yeah,
mentioned.
yeah, dude, just and it's not even that they're crazy series, it's just, again, Shiny Rock Syndrome. I
Yeah.
started one and saw the other. Um, but it's been such a good year of reading that I can't complain. Like, even, even when it comes to goals, like, I probably I will set the same reading goal for myself as last year of 50, um, but I will be prioritizing enjoying the books that I read, or reading what I enjoy, because this last quarter, I really felt the pressure of having a community, that expects one thing from you, and they're an incredible group of people, uh, but it was really tough to feel like I had to read specific books to be able to
Yeah.
get, like, anyone to watch a video, and I kind of suffered through that, in February, March, and April, where I really was trying to find my footing outside of being the guy who read spicy books online. And then for some reason, like, it's like I threw it and it boomeranged back and hit me in the back of the head in October. And I felt the exact same way again. So I really want to prioritize, like you said, not the numerical goal, but just the goal of reading for enjoyment instead of reading to create content, which I think kind of got jumbled up for me there.
It's a fine line, it is, because it's like you also do wanna read the books that people are recommending and that people are talking about, and, like, especially when a new series comes out or a new book in a series, it's like, yeah, it's hard not to, it's like the FOMO is real. It's like, "Dang, I wanna be talking about that book too," like, not just for the clicks, but because it's like, they're having such a good time with it, I wanna be part of that.
Yeah, and then, like, especially, like, Sun Eater, like, book 7 came out in November, I think it was, or October, or people were reading the arc in October and posting about it, and then it came out in November. I was like, "I could throw my entire TBR out right now. This seems amazing." Um, and it's just, like you said, FOMO. There's so many people who I love and respect their content, and they're speaking highly about stuff, and I'm like, "Oh, I should read that too."
Yeah.
It's just hard to kinda navigate that sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It's a really fine line, and that's, definitely one of my goals is to get better about that, and I think also that a lot of people are, they're following you or I because they like us. Um, and they would want us to read what we want to read too. So it's like, even if it's not their typical books, they will stick around. They're still going to care. So it's like, you got to do a little bit more of what you like so that it doesn't start feeling like work. Because I
Yeah.
had to remind myself of that too, is that like, this is a hobby and it's supposed to be fun and not stressful, really, ever.
Yeah. No, 100%. I definitely, like, and again, I've had such a good year of reading, which is, like, the whole purpose. Like, we're gonna talk about how good of a year it was and, like, the best of the best. But, like, I had such a good year of reading that when I was feeling that way, I had to remind myself that, like, even through that, I got to read some of the best books that I've ever read in my entire life and got to talk about it and meet new people because of that. So,
Yeah.
the good and the bad, gotta take it both, or
Yeah.
gotta take them both. But
Well, from there, why don't we jump into, do you wanna pick the first, genre where we give our top 3?
yeah, you know, I think let's start off with sci-fi, because that's probably what I read the second least of this year, while also still reading a bunch of it.
Yeah, I got some notes here. I did 3, 2, 1.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that I'm, like, married to my order,
Yeah.
but I'll start with what I've put in 3rd place for the year, and
Okay.
then you can tell me your 3rd place, if you will. Let's see. I already forgot what I wrote, so oh, yeah, Cello's Gate by Maurice Affridge, who is an alumni of the podcast. He's been on here before. Fantastic, book talker himself.
He
That
lives right up
one
the road from me.
That one was a lot of fun. I had a really good time with that. He was nice enough actually to send me an e-arc of it. I finished it like 2 days after it came out. I felt bad about that. I was trying to get in on the initial hype, but what a fun sci-fi read that was. It's got a little bit of fantasy elements to it. Really cool book.
I've heard a lot of really good things about it, and he's local to, kind of like the same general area that I am. I don't wanna, like, put him on blast. I don't know if everyone knows where he lives, but he and I are, like, fairly close.
I think he said
Um
before, but yeah,
Okay,
I
cool,
get you.
cool. But, he and I live fairly close, so, like, 1, it's supporting what feels like a local author,
Right.
but also, I've heard so many good things, and again, so many of the people that I, like, really respect their takes, just, "This is great, you have to read this." And so it's sitting here, that's on my priority list.
Yeah, it was really cool to read that one because he was actually one of the first book talkers that I followed in like 2022 when I discovered that book talk was a thing. And then he stopped posting for like over a year. And I think it was to finish Cello's Gate. And then he popped back up and he DM'd me and asked if I wanted to read an arc. And I was like, heck yeah, I do. Like it was kind of a full circle moment. And then I got to have him on the podcast too, which was really fun.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And definitely recommend. That one's worth checking out for sure.
I've heard so many good things about it, and again, so many people have spoken highly of it that I respect their takes. It's one of those that I know I'm gonna like, and I feel bad going into it with a preconceived notion either way, good or bad, but, like, it feels like it checks a ton of boxes for me already, and so I'm really excited to get into that one.
Yeah, it's a good
I,
one.
uh my number 3, where did I put those guys? This is gonna make people mad probably. Uh, to
I
to
like it.
have it at to have it at number 3 on the like, I think having it on the list in general is good. Having it at number 3 is gonna make a lot of people mad, but, Project Hail Mary, um, this is such a good book. I think it's
It
a
is.
really fun and really enjoyable read. Uh I don't wanna say anything disparaging about it because it's number 3 for me. It's a good book. I do think, like, the ending for me no spoilers, spoiler-free kings over here, but, the ending for me kinda bummed me out really bad, like, um,
I can understand that. I can
and
understand.
I wanted to see and I don't wanna, like, talk in code, but, like, I wanted to see the inverse of what we saw.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, I wanted to see how things went, like, when that got to where it was going, I
And the other
wanted to see how yeah, I wanted to see how things went on that side of things. And so then, like, the ending that we got, while funny and, like, kind of I don't know, I think kinda quirky and cute and, like, wholesome, it just kinda it bummed me out a little bit, and so it lands at 3 for me. I think Ray Porter did a phenomenal job with the audiobook, um,
I've heard that.
and
I'm actually planning to reread it, immersively, just so I can hear the audio and so I can get it in, before the movie comes out.
yes, the audiobook is I think this is almost in the same vein as, Dungeon Crawler Carl, where it's a good story, and the audiobook just takes it to the next level.
I've heard that, and I think Project Hail Mary, I really enjoyed that one too. I had a great time with that. Um, I think that's super accessible too for anyone who hasn't really read much sci-fi, and if you think you wanna give it a try, I
Yes.
think Project Hail Mary it's a hard sci-fi, so there's a lot of math, but you can just look at a number and be like, "Oh, that's a number." It doesn't have to make sense to you.
Yeah.
It makes sense to the character, and that's all that matters, but you have found family, you have action, you have, like there's so much emotion to it. Like, again, without getting into any spoilers, but it covers a lot of just very human elements that aren't sci-fi. It just happens to be in space,
Yeah, I
or at least
agree.
partially.
Yeah, no, and it's on so many good creators' top 5 starter books.
Yeah.
Like, if you wanna get into this or you wanna get into this, I saw it on so many top 5s, I saw it on so many starter lists, or starter packs or whatever they call them. And I agree wholeheartedly. It's such a good book. It really kind of, uh, taps into that human desire for companionship and, like,
Yeah,
comfort, especially when you feel alone, and feel like there's a lot weighing over you, especially given the circumstances of the book. There's a lot going on, and a lot riding on this, and so it was such a good story, and I think that having it at 3 should speak to how much I enjoyed the other 2.
yeah, that's fair. So let's jump into the next ones. Let's see. I have Howling Dark by Christopher
Okay.
Rockwell, which is book 2 in the Sun Eater series. I've read that one in January or February. So this is another case of a book that I read early in the year that hung on to like a top spot all year. Fantastic read. A lot of people complained that book 1 was slow. Um, it is a little bit, but it was the type of slow that I really like, where you're really like getting into the world and learning about the characters. So book 1 was great for me, but there was a lot of people that are like, "Oh, it gets really good in book 2." It does get really good in book 2, but, like, I also loved book 1, so it was like, I was already pretty high, and it only goes up from there.
Yeah. I've heard, so many people say that book 1 almost stopped them from finishing the series, and when they explain why, it doesn't make any sense to me because I am like, "Give me world building, give me lore, give me history." That's what I like, and then you can throw me into the rest of it in a book too.
I'm with you
Um,
there.
yeah, so, like, you're one of the first people that I've heard who said, like, "Hey, I dig that." Like, everybody else was like, "Oh, I had to trudge through it," but I think that's gonna be awesome, and so the sequel to something like that has to be good. Like, it has to hit.
It does. There's definitely a lot more action. For the people who complained that book 1 didn't have enough, like, action, it increases a lot.
Well, they, there's this creator, gosh, I can't remember his name, but essentially, they were talking about, like, the backdrop to the series is great and, like, world building, all that stuff is awesome, but, like, the action and the, like, political maneuvering is what really makes the series,
Yeah.
and so I'm excited to get into it. I really, really, really should have prioritized. I should have gotten into Sun Eater when everybody else was reading book 7. Oh, man, it bums me out to have missed out on, like, the hype.
That's another series that I'm going to be working I don't know if I'm gonna finish that one, because like, I definitely have to finish The Expanse, but I'm gonna be continuing my way through it next year for sure.
How far into it are you?
Just the 2.
Dude,
So
see,
that
that's perfect.
that was my
That
I wanted to get into 3, but it's just like I bounced all over the place.
dude, they've been sitting on my shelf staring at me, for months and months and months. I got, like I think I got, Empire of Silence. I got that for Christmas last year, and then got the other ones directly after that because I was gonna prioritize it, so I definitely need to. Um, yeah, that's a great book too. As someone who hasn't read it, that's a good book too.
Yeah,
Um, I guess my book 2 also probably is gonna make people mad that it's at 2. Um, and it could there could be a case made that it's sci fantasy. And this is I will say Dungeon Crawler Crawl is not on my sci-fi list because I think it's sci fantasy.
yeah,
Um, so that would have been Butcher's Masquerade would have been number 1 on the sci-fi list if it weren't sci fantasy. But Golden Sun by Pierce Brown, book 2 in Red Rising. Um, this just kicks the door wide open to the world. I think the first book kinda suffered from being too self-contained, um, and I'm sure that people are gonna say that that's crazy because, like, you get to see under Mars, you get to see on top of Mars, you get to see the Institute, you get to see all this cool stuff in book 1, but book 2, like, just kicks the door down and says, "No, this is the universe."
yep,
And I think uh, it is one of the best, like, sprawling sci-fi landscapes that I've seen, for myself personally, and I loved what they did with the characters in this. I loved the character growth. I loved the way that the relationships developed. I thought that there were so many problems with book 1 And I've heard this said time and time again that when people talk about Red Rising, they're never talking about book 1. No one is ever talking about Red Rising as the singular book 1, they're always talking about it as the series, and this is the book that made me realize that. It was just truly one of the best endings, like, best cliffhanger endings to a book that I've ever read in my life. And I read this I had a stacked February. I read the first Law trilogy and the first 3 books in Red Rising all in February.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a solid month.
dude, I have had I'm trying to figure out what my best month of reading was, and I don't know if anything's gonna be February. I'm trying to make a video on the best month of reading that I had for the year, but Golden Sun, number 2, it's a banger.
It is. I've read 4 of the books in Red Rising. I like you, I read the original trilogy and then took a break. And then I read book 4 and I'm taking another break because book 4 is like it's kinda depressing. Like there's a lot
Really?
that yeah, it gets dark, man. Like,
As
but
we're just cheesing, like, yeah, it's
but,
dark.
um Golden Sun is my favorite so far in the series, and I think it's likely going to be my favorite overall because I was blown away by it too. It's so different than Red Rising book 1. I like you have to call it book 1 because it's called Red Rising, but like so book 1 and then there is the rest of the series. It's I've told a bunch of people, it's like if you thought book 1 was okay, try book 2, and if you don't like it, then the series isn't for you. But I wouldn't judge the series based off of book 1.
Yeah.
But Golden Sun blew me away.
It's so good. I didn't understand the hype when I finished book 1. I was like, "This is fine. It's good." I think I gave it like a 4, maybe a 3.75, and then I read book 2 and I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm still waiting for the blood to go back to my head from February." Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was incredible.
It is, and I book 3 is also fantastic, and for a long time,
Yes.
I've kind of like, "Oh, which one do I like better?" But it is Golden Sun.
I
Just
like
just by a little bit, it's close, because book 3 is also really good.
oh, it's so and it also, like not to get into, like, the weeds of it, but book 3 does such a good job of fleshing out the rest of the universe because
Yeah,
book 2 kicks the door open, book 1 grabs you and throws you or book 3 grabs you and throws you into it. Like,
yep.
it's done so, so well, and that's part of the reason I don't wanna continue the series is because book 3 was good. I got my happy ending. I don't need more.
You know, and I wouldn't be mad at anyone that wants to stop after the because I think it was originally going to be a trilogy.
Yeah.
And if someone wanted to stop I've actually seen some people argue to stop there because there are some people who don't like the following books nearly as much. And the biggest thing for me in book 4 was multi POVs. We spent 3 entire books with one character, with Darrow. And then now it's like we're jumping around, and by the end, I did appreciate getting some other context, but, like, it just felt weird being in this universe in someone else's head because 'cause I'm like, "This isn't what I know." Like,
Yeah.
in my head, I'm like, "I don't like change."
I agree. I think that would be weird. I like multi POV stuff, but I can see, especially like in a series for it to shift. That's probably also a reason that because I don't like change.
Yeah.
But what was your number one? What
My
where
number 1 and I'm really proud of myself for this because it's a trilogy. I read book 1 in January. I think it was the 2nd book I read this year. And last week, I just finished book 3. I read an entire trilogy in 1 year, and that's The Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu. And book 1 is my favorite out of the trilogy. Books 2 and 3 are also fantastic, but book 1 is, I mean, it blew my mind. Like, I stare at the stars differently. Like, I see the universe differently after this book. It's insane. It's like parts of this have become actual scientific theories like, with real
really?
scientists in our, like, real world, like, it's insane. Like, I never considered sci-fi like this. It's I've heard some people say that it lacks in the character department, which I'm usually a character-driven guy. There are a lot of characters, and it covers a big span of, time too, so there's different, like, sets of characters. But I was just so blown away by the concepts and the implications of things that are happening in terms of like what it means for Earth and humans, and it's such a like grand scale idea. I was just absolutely blown away. It's incredibly well done, and it's a translated book, so I think a lot of credit probably has to go to, um, you know, the translate. I'm trying to think. Ken Liu might have been the one who
I
translated
think
it.
it is. I think is it his mother who wrote that book? Or
No, I don't. I don't think so. But I'm pretty sure he is the one that translated it. So credit to him too. But like, it's incredible.
I feel like I'm dumb now because I was like, "Oh, they have the same last name. They're related." But
No, I don't believe so, but I would have to. I'm not sure, but I do know that whoever the Shishen Liu, this idea, wherever they got it from, it's like I forever gonna haunt some physicist probably because it's that crazy of an idea.
I'll read it. I'll have to read it. If it's that good, I have to
It's
read it.
so good. It's
I
the
do
concept is like I got it starts off a little weird because it's like I don't think this is really a spoiler, but it starts off with some characters playing in like a virtual reality world, and then some big concepts come out of that, and it's like it's hard to explain. But at the beginning, I was like, I don't really get it. Like, what are we? This isn't. I don't know. It's just they're in VR, and then something happens, and you're like, oh, well, oh, okay, this is crazy. And then there's just huge implications for humans, and you're like, ooh, we might
I'll
not
buy
make
that
it.
right now. I'll buy that right now, dude. Let's go. Dude, that's what you want out of a book, is something that makes you look at the stars differently. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really incredible. I think the 3rd book was a little too long by the end. I was like, "All right, it's the longest in the series," and I was like, "I we could be done now." It's like, "I've read a lot of this. Let's wrap it up here." But the 1st book in particular was my favorite sci-fi of the year, obviously. But the series as a whole was also really fantastic.
Heck yeah. I'll have to give it a shot. I have not heard many people talk about it. And it was a Netflix show, right?
Yeah, and I
That
think
yeah.
I'm gonna jump into the Netflix show. That's
Okay.
part of why I wanted to finish the whole trilogy because I don't know for sure if I don't know if the 1st season is only book 1. I don't know if they dive into anything else. So I was like, let me just read the whole thing before I
Do it.
spoil anything for myself.
I'll have to buy the books. 'Cause again, I need to find things that are kind of outside my preferred genre, and my preferred genre is fantasy. I love sci-fi, but I when I was going through my list on Fable to, like, look and see, like, what my ranking would be, I was like, "Wow, I didn't read a lot of sci-fi." Because again, I can't count Dungeon Crawler Crawl, it's sci-fantasy.
Yeah,
Um, and, like, my number 1 is also, a book 1. And so I think it's interesting. I feel like some authors just come out of the gate just
they
swinging
do.
hard,
They really do.
but I'll check that out. One, because I need new books to read. As you can tell, I don't have enough. Um, but also because you speak highly of it, and I respect your opinion, so I'll give it a shot.
Yeah,
And also because I want to
it's
watch the
definitely
show.
one that more people should check out.
I think this is also one that more people should check out. I think this is also uh, a book that everyone should read. It's The Blighted Stars by Megan E. O'Keefe.
I have that. I actually someone I had that on my wish list and someone got it for me. I forget who now in the moment, but that is high up on my list too.
Dude, this is, it's without a doubt the most, I think Project Hail Mary and The Blighted Stars are 2 opposite ends of the sci-fi spectrum, but both accessible in the same way. For anyone who has ever wanted to read sci-fi, I think you could pick this book up and immediately be able to buy into the concept. Essentially, without getting too into the weeds on this, humans have, uh, kind of pressed out into the stars and, gotten to this point where they can create maps of their brains, neural maps, and so you have a print, you have a biologically printed body, um, and you can send your neural map to a different body. And so it makes deep space exploration and, different types of research easier because you can go into a volcano knowing you're going to die and just send your brain back from your body. Um,
Oh, that's
so there are planets that are habitable and they're being destroyed very quickly by this type of plant lichen situation. And they're being destroyed by something called the Shroud. And so the there are intergalactic families, and one of the families who's in charge of like going and mining these planets for the essentially they mine the planets for the thing that they use to print bodies. And they're trying to figure out why the planets keep getting destroyed before they can go and mine them. And the son of the guy who runs the family, they're the Mercators. He's a geologist and he's sent to go figure out what's going on. And there is a rebellion, and the leader of the rebellion, or one of the leaders of the rebellion, prints herself into the body of his bodyguard to kill him, and gets put into like they crash on this planet and she has to keep him safe. And it's this true like it's oh god, it's so good. I could wax poetic about this, but it is such a cool story. The idea of like how many times can you be reprinted before your neural map cracks? What happens if you crack? Can you be reprinted again? Can they fix it? How are we going to save Earth? What happens when we run out of this mineral that we use to print bodies? The human race ceases to exist. All while there's this like espionage aspect to it because, Naira Sharp, who is my number one book baddie, number one of all time, dude. Naira Sharp, this lady right here, dude, oh my god, she's amazing, dude. I have the biggest crush on this character. She's the best. It is such a good story, and it is the best romantic subplot that has ever existed of all time in any story I've ever read. It feels so genuine and earned and true, and it is just incredible. And the audiobook, this is one that I supplemented, with the audiobook while I was at work. Oh my god, dude. It doesn't get better than the audiobook on this one. It's not as good of a performance, like overall performance as like what Jeff Hayes would do for Dungeon Crawler Carl, but the passion and the way that the narrator brings the characters to life is just top tier. I cannot recommend this book highly enough. The second book, similarly to Golden Sun, kinda kicks the door open to the universe, and you get to see much more of the universe. This is contained on one of the planets that they crash on, and the entire story takes place there. It also has one of the most incredible and beautiful chapters I've ever read, written from the point of view of a ship with AI that has gained sentience as it's
Oh,
being
that
taken
sounds
over.
cool.
Dude, and it's so sick because it's this ship trying to protect itself. It's so, so good. I have not finished this series. I have heard mixed reviews on Last Book. I have, people that I really respect who love the Last Book, and then one singular person who I really respect, the Book Baba. Funny, funny guy. Um, Divisive figure on Book Talk, but good-hearted nonetheless. Hates the last book in
Oh,
this
does he?
series. He was like, "Dude, this sucks." And so I've got both sides of it. But I'm telling you, dude, Naira Sharp, Book Baddie of the Year 2025, just
Uh,
incredible story. I'll shut up about it now, but it's
well,
so good.
I'm definitely bumping that one up my TBR because I have that on my shelf, so that's gonna be another must read for 2026.
Dude, I think you'd really, really love it.
Yeah, that
It's
sounds awesome.
so good.
And, from there, I guess we can jump into fantasy.
Okay. You want me
And
to
this
you want you
this is
go?
where,
Okay.
you can go first, but I realized when I checked my list, I was like, "Ooh, I neglected fantasy a little bit this year." Like, 2 of my books are not even, like, high fantasy. They would be
Really?
more like urban fantasy.
Oh, dude, I bet you we have the same I bet you we have the same series on here.
I don't know, we'll see.
Um, I will say my number 3, um, and I hate to put this at number 3 because it's the best sequel I've ever read. Uh, it is God, it's so good. Empire of the Damned by Jay Kristoff.
I've heard good things about that series.
Uh, Excellent series. Excellent series. The best book to I've ever read. I hate to keep using the phrase "kicked the door open," but this one truly like it adds it adds another POV. Without getting into spoilers, the unreliable narrator that is Gabriel de Leon, gets another unreliable narrator. And so it's like it's very Interview with a Vampire-esque. He's basically telling the story of how he got captured to the people who captured him and like giving his life story. And so there's another part of the story that comes from another character. I don't want to spoil anything, but so good. Vampires fighting magic swords that talk and stutter their way through things. Um, People don't drink blood; they smoke it. It's crazy. It's dude. It's so good. Cursing, blood, gore, uh, schmexual activity. It's it's a romantasy, and a fantasy, and it's got some spice that could rival some of the best spicy books I've ever read. Truly such a good story. Um, ugh, but it has to be number 3, and I feel bad placing it at number 3 because of how good it is. But again, in the same vein as, Project Hail Mary because of how good the other ones are.
Right. Yeah, it speaks to how much you liked number 2 and number 1, and nothing against
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. How about for you? Where's your 3? Where is it landing?
My number 3 is and this one I think would probably technically be considered sci fantasy, Vicious by V.E. Schwab.
Yes,
It's
that's on my list.
it's basically X-Men. It's like,
Dude.
you end up with the powers much differently, and it's darker than X-Men, um, but it's really freaking cool. It was like, I flew through this book. There's a sequence, without any spoilers, but there's a sequence towards the end of the book where everything that happened in the book comes down to something that's gonna happen at midnight on this one night. And, like, the last, like, 100 pages is, like, just an hour and a half. It's, like, 90 minutes before midnight, like, then it's 15 minutes later, and then it's 5 minutes later, and there's so much happening for all the different characters, and it's, like, I'm on the edge of my seat, and I'm like, "I know we're not there yet because there's still, like, 80 pages," but I was like, "We just need to get to midnight. I need to see what's gonna happen." Like, couldn't put it down for the last 100 pages. I think I read that book in, like, 2 or 3 days. It was
Holy
so
crap.
much fun.
Dude, God, I need to read that. My mom's favorite author is V.E. Schwab. And she gifted me all of her V.E. Schwab books. She was like, "I've read them. I don't need to read them again. I'll read them if I borrow them from your house." And the 2 that I was looking at were Vicious and Vengeful, and I was like, "This looks so good."
It was so I had only read, I read book 1, it was A Darker Shade of Magic, and
Yeah.
it was good, but I was like, "I don't know if I get the V.E. Schwab hype, like, I don't know if she's for me." And then I tried this and I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it." That series is just okay. It didn't hit perfectly for me. This one does.
Dude, I have to read it. It's basically X-Men. I'm
Yeah,
there, dude. I'm
yeah.
there.
Like,
Dude, that sounds awesome.
they come across their powers in a very different way, but, like, essentially once I mean, that's not a big spoiler 'cause it says it on the back of the book that it has to do with
Yeah.
powers. But, like, once they have them, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this is like a dark version of X-Men." Like, dudes with superpowers wanna kill each other.
Dude, that's what it was. Chronicle. Did you ever see the movie Chronicle?
Sounds familiar. I don't remember though.
Chronicle is a found footage, and this it ties in, but Chronicle is like a found footage story of 3 friends who get superpowers from a rock, and it's like handheld camera, and it's like Dane DeHaan, the guy who played the worst Green Goblin in any Spider-Man ever, he's in it, and it's basically like these 2 kind of popular kids and 1 kid who's not so popular find themselves with these powers, and they're all best buddies, and then something happens, and they're, like, turned against each other. And people, golly, what is the name? Dude, it's I think it's the same creator who said the thing about Sun Eater. When they were talking about movie, if you like this movie, or you should watch this book or read this book or whatever, it was Chronicle and Vicious.
Yeah, 'cause
Um,
Vicious is 2 college best friends that end up on the opposite end of a belief of what to do with these powers, and it's Professor X and Magneto, like, but
heck
worse.
yeah.
Like,
Dude, that sounds awesome.
it's so good. It's so good. It's so much fun.
And that was number 3?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh, dude. Oh, man. No, I have to read it. That's also V. Schwab is on my list. I will say I've never had as tough a time in my life as I have trying to pick between 2 and 1.
Okay,
Um,
real
and it
close one
hurt
here.
dude, it hurts my soul because I have Joe Abercrombie in here. It's gonna be no surprise to anyone who's seen me talk about Joe Abercrombie. Um, the book itself is gonna, surprise people, the book itself, the blade itself too. Um, it is in the, First Law trilogy or the world of the First Law, but it is not from the First Law trilogy, and I was surprised when I found myself staring at the shelf, like, "Which one is it?" And I
Yeah.
just grabbed this, and I knew, like, instantly I knew. I loved the First Law trilogy. I have read so many good fantasy books this year, and almost all of them were written by Joe Abercrombie, it felt like. I think the main gripe that people have with his stories is that or at least with the First Law trilogy, is that it's so slow and the plot moves forward so slowly, and it's just kind of like the characters are what really keep you going. Um, and I think in the standalones, he has perfected his craft, and you can see it in Best Served Cold, where he has this perfectly contained story with the same level of character work, not over the same time span, but over, like, the same level, like, you can see how talented he is as it at it. The Heroes by Joe Abercrombie is the second standalone in the world of the First Law, and it follows one battle over the course of, I think, 3 or 4 days, has one of the best chapters I've ever read in my entire life.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome. Like, you really diving in and you're, like, in that
yes.
moment.
It's it's so, so good, and one of the best chapters I've ever read is he starts with one POV of a person in the battle, in the first skirmish of the battle, and the person who, yeah, kills that guy, it's his point of view, and then that guy gets killed, and it's the guy who killed him's point of view, and so
Oh, okay.
you get to see the last moments of a character and the people who put them in those last moments, and the juxtaposition of, like, the way they're thinking is so funny. Like, there's this one captain for and they're side characters that aren't really, like, pivotal to the plot. It's just it's there to show you how crazy this battle is. But there's this, like, captain who thinks very highly of himself, and, he's like, "I should have never joined the army. Oh gosh, it's terrible, and this is how I go, blah." The guy who kills him's like, "That guy was going bald." It's literally, he's like, "I just threw an axe into the back of this bald guy who was running weird." Like, it's so funny to see, but so, so good, and just God, it almost feels criminal to put this in here, because there's no magic, there's nothing, like, super high fantasy elements about it or anything, but it's so, so good, and what it does well, it does incredibly well. I can't think of a bad thing about this book, honestly, and it was so tough to put this ahead of, like, The Last Argument of Kings, because that is my favorite book in that series, but this just bangs, and it bangs so hard.
That sounds awesome. I definitely need to read more Abercrombie, another 2026 goal. I was gifted the entire First Law trilogy because 'cause I've only read book 1. So it's like I gotta finish that too, especially because it was a gift.
Dude, yeah, I remember us talking about, you had only finished book 1 and, how you related to Glokta and,
Yeah.
like, his descri I also have a t-shirt that if it weren't in the wash, I would show you. I got a t-shirt, Sandan Glokta t-shirt, and on the back of it, it's him walking up the stairs that says "Click, tap, pain." And it's such a cool, gnarly shirt. Um, but I think I you would love it, man. It's
Yeah.
so, so good. And
Yeah,
it just
I
synthesized.
I think next year I'm gonna lean into I leaned into sci-fi this year, and it was fun, and I'm like, I think I'm a it's like a pendulum. I swing back and forth, but I think next year is gonna be a fantasy heavy year for me.
I'm gonna try to do, a sci-fi, like, historical fiction next year, so we'll be on the we'll just pass by,
Yeah.
ships in the night. Uh,
Yep.
what's your number 2?
My number 2 was, Oathbound by Tracy Deonn, which is book 3 in a series.
It's the
Uh,
Legendborn.
yeah,
Yeah.
I really like this series. It's technically YA. It's really cool though. Like, just a brief description of the world is in book 1, the main character, she is I believe she's 15 in book 1, and she is, a young black girl in North Carolina that is coming to terms with the loss of her mother about a year before, and she goes to, um, like, a summer program for, like, gifted students at UNC, and she quickly discovers there that there's, like, this secret society, and they're, like, keeping demons that normal people can't see at bay, and their whole lineage is based off of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. They're all descendants of him, and then she ends up in this world, and she discovers that she has some powers through her mother that she never knew about that link to, like, her African roots, and she kind of ends up in this secret society that they don't want her to be part of, but she, like, kicks in the door and is like, "I'm here." And it's just a really cool world, and it for being YA too, I would say book 1 handles grief, like, in such an amazing way, really dives into the emotions that you go through losing someone, and book 3 is the longest one, and I heard some people complain about its length, but I think because 'cause I'm a regular fantasy reader, I'm used to, like, a 7 or 800 page book. It didn't feel too long to me, and we get to learn some more stuff about, like, the inner workings of this secret society that are just, like, you get really mad at, and then you just learn a lot, and it's really cool.
I had a guy at work, shout out David, nice guy, he doesn't work there anymore. He's gone to another insurance company, but he and I, talked about books on lunch a couple of days in a row, while we were both standing at the microwave, and he spoke so glowingly about the Legendborn series, and I was like, "Oh, heck yeah, dude, I'll give it a shot." And I yeah, now I feel bad that I haven't yet, but it sounds and it's also, like, fairly close, you know, like,
Yeah,
North Carolina's 20 minutes away depending on which direction I drive. But dude, it sounds so sick. And I didn't know it was YA. I've heard
yeah.
so many good things about it. Didn't know it was YA.
It is, that would be my only complaint is that I feel like every YA I read, there ends up being a love triangle, and this is no exception, there is a love triangle, spoiler. But I think it's handled a lot better than other YA books where it doesn't feel, like, as tropey, and it doesn't
Yeah.
feel as, like, lost teen girl that's like, "Ooh, there's 2 boys, which do I pick?" Like, it doesn't come off that way, whereas some YA I've read definitely comes off that way. Um, it's such an amazing world too. There's so much cool stuff going on. And it's, like,
I,
also I don't wanna spoil too much, but, like, the guys that are, the modern day knights, like, they get this cool, like, fantasy armor that they put on that, like, glows, and normal people can't see it, but, like, they can see it on each other, and, like, they can just, like, hold their hand up in a sword, like, it's not an actual sword, it's, like, energy, and it's, like, it glows in the color of, like, their knight, it's so cool.
heck yeah, dude. Bro, I grew up on Power Rangers. You give me a suit that materializes out of nowhere
Yeah.
and cool weapons that just show up, I'm in. Dude, I'm in it, dude.
Yeah,
That's
it's a lot
awesome.
of fun, and it handles a lot of really adult subjects, that's why I was like even when I read book 1, I'm like, "Yeah, I guess she's 15, so it's YA, but"
Yeah. Well, I
sorry.
mean, if no, you're totally fine. I mean, think about it. Like, how many good fantasy stories that aren't considered YA start with a character who's like a 14-year-old farm boy who's never
Yeah,
held a
exactly.
sword. Yeah. So, interesting.
It's,
But I
it's def I think it was originally gonna be a trilogy, and there's one more coming, but I don't think it's coming until, like, 2027, which is a bummer.
is this would you consider this one of the ones that you were thinking might be, considered more urban fantasy because it's more
Yeah,
modern day?
yeah,
Interesting. Heck yeah.
yeah.
I, my number 1 is urban fantasy, and it's a secret to no one. I'm almost positive
I have a guess. I have a guess.
know what it is. Um, I will not talk at length about this book because I have said all I could say and I will not risk crying on this podcast. Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee is God, it's so good. It's the best ending. Um, it was so well written. The characters are so well rounded and fleshed out, and seeing all the different sides of them, from the good to the bad and everything in between. I have never in my life felt like I grew with a story and experienced as much of a life in these pages as I did within these pages, or in the pages of a book as I did within these pages. Uh, Greenbold Saga, you know, this is just I love when I see people start to read it. Big shout out to my friend Maria for making me read this because it was so worth it. This is number 1, and I think at the end of the day, it's my number 1 book of the year overall. I love this series. I love this book, and, we've discussed it. I've cried on the internet about this book. I won't do it again.
Yeah.
I
I,
freaking love this.
I've said this before, and I think I stand behind this, but I think it's my favorite trilogy ever. I've read series that I would probably rank higher, but they were bigger series, more books.
Yeah,
But in terms of just like a 3-book series, I don't know that it gets much better than that. That was one where I read Jade City and loved it, and then I waited like a year. And then once I got into the 2nd book, I ordered the 3rd book because I knew I was like, there's no more breaks. Like
yeah.
this is gonna be a straight through situation. And
It
I think about that one all the time. I've said to people before too, where it's like, it's not necessarily the ending I wanted because of course, like, you kinda want, like, the happy ending, and you want it to work out the way that you want everything to be perfect for all the characters. But after reading those 3 books, there's no way that that could have been the ending. It wouldn't have
Yeah,
felt right, it would have felt cheap. It's like, it ended how it needed to end without giving anything
exactly.
away.
It was God, it was perfect. I
Yeah.
love that series so much, dude. I
Yeah,
agree
it was
wholeheartedly
so
with
good.
every point. It's so good. Um, like I said, I won't wax poetic about it. I can't talk more about that book. We'll be here for 7 hours. What is
Eh,
your
my number 1 was, Angie Kills a King by Evan Lycom.
really?
Yeah. I really had a lot of fun with that. It's a very quick read. I think it's like 340 or 350 pages, which for fantasy is, pretty short. Um, it really just, I mean, it's called Angie Kills a King, and the first line, Angie stabs a king in the throat. It's like, I don't think I've ever read any book ever that starts so fast paced, and it never really lets up. And I think that Evan did a really cool job of integrating some more what people would probably consider like modern problems. Like there's like a magical drug, there is talk of addiction, there is, some themes throughout it that are very relevant to like the modern world, but it's a high fantasy setting. And it's just really it's really cool. It's like a he would always describe it as just like, oh, it's just an A to B story. And it is in that sense, but it's like the way you get there is pretty cool. Like it was a really fun read.
Dude, I have it on my shelf. I got it, a couple of months ago. I think maybe back in the beginning of the summer, and I had planned to read it, and I just never got around to it. It was one of those that, again, shiny rocks. You just grab it
Yeah.
and say, "Oh, man, this looks awesome." So hearing that be your number 1, that makes it I have to prioritize it.
And it shout out to Evan too. He's an alum of the podcast as well.
Heck yeah. Dude,
And I've been following him for years as well. So it's like I got a version of this forever ago in his Discord, like very early version. And I read the first chapter and I was like, I liked it. And I was like, nope, I'm stopping here. Cause this was before he even got picked up by a publisher. But like I believed in him from reading the little bit that I did and just hearing him talk about, working on his craft. And he had said that he would have self-published if he didn't get picked up by Tor, but he did get picked up, and I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna read the version that goes through the editor that gets, the final version." Like, I don't wanna have, like, the knowledge of what's going to happen from this early draft, but I still have it in my email somewhere. It's cool to have.
That's awesome, dude. You should go back and read the early draft to see what changed, to see what's different now.
Yeah, I have thought about doing that, and I'm real excited. He's working on book 2, I think next fall, he said it's gonna be coming out, and I think this is planned to be a trilogy, and
Dude, that's awesome.
from the sounds of it, like with Golden Sun, I think book 2 is really gonna kick open the doors and expand upon the world because in book 1, basically, she stabs a king in the throat, and then she's on the run, and she gets captured, and then she's being dragged back to, the castle, so it's like, you're all just on the road, like, you don't get to see a ton of the world. It's
Yeah.
kind of Angie with her captor, and you're learning about the world in little bits through what the captor tells her, but, like, book 2, I think, is gonna be, like, you really get to see the overarching world.
Heck yeah. Also, one of the coolest covers I've ever seen.
It's so sick.
Arguably one of the coolest covers
Oh,
ever.
it's so good.
Dude, it looks so sick. It's gnarly. Dude, that's
Yeah, and
awesome.
he had, like, a little bit of input on it, we did talk about that, when he was on the podcast, but, like, he was also just like, yeah, he's like, "I kinda really got lucky." He's like, I threw out some ideas, and I was like, I'd like it to have this elements," and he's like, "They knocked it out of the park," and it's so good.
That's awesome. Heck yeah, dude. Honestly, you could have given me at least 10 guesses. I would not have guessed that that would have been a number like, that would have been your number 1. And that's
Yeah, it was
not to speak about the book, I haven't read it, but, like, it was just not something that I would have thought about initially.
yeah, I was looking at the books, and I was like, "What is my number 1?" And I kind of, missed it as I was scrolling, and then as soon as I re-scrolled, I was like, "Nope, it's that one." Like,
That's it. Yeah.
it is. It's like a beacon once I did see it. I was like, "Yep, that's the one."
Dude, I have to move it up the list. That sounds awesome.
It's a quick read too.
Dude,
It's
I
like
also love a good A to B. Like, give
yeah,
me a good A to B
yeah,
story. I'm there.
and also it's like the opening line literally is that she's just like she does the laundry in the palace, and she hates the world. It's like it's super unfair. The poor people are in the streets dying, and she just has an opportunity. She's in the same room as the king. He's looking out the window by himself, and she just sticks a dagger in his throat. Like,
Holy shit.
that's the first sentence. Literally,
Dude,
that's the
that's awesome.
it's so sick, and then from there, it's just like, she has no clue what she's doing, she panics, runs, like, doesn't know how to hide, doesn't know how she doesn't have any skills to, like, be out in the wilderness, like, it's so good.
Dude, that's awesome. Oh, man.
Now from here, do we wanna do romance or make everyone wait till the end for that? And we could do our other category, or
Um, I'm down for the other category.
alright, so we'll leave
We'll
everyone
drop
hanging.
romance at the end.
I
I
feel
have
like
much
some people are here for the romance, so you
I
got your
have
opinion,
much
I'm
less
sorry.
to say about the other category. Like, it's I have a top 3 for the others for sure, but they're, like, very short, sweet. So
So
but
I'll
I took
start then. My
yeah.
my number 3 for other, is Betty by Tiffany McDaniel, and this is, a story about a young girl who is, half native. Her father is a native, and she lives in Southern Ohio in the Appalachian Mountains, and sh their family's very poor, and it basically just covers her life from being born in a bathtub in 1954 until she's about, like, 18, and just kind of there's a whole lot of tragedy, there's a whole lot of turmoil in the family, and it's really why it got to me and why it would get to you is it's a poor father who really loves his kids, and if you wanna talk about, like, the ultimate dad, it's him. It's like, he comes up with all these crazy stories about, like, you know, animals and the wilderness and where and he ties it all to his native heritage, but he's ultimately doing it to teach lessons and also just to make his kids smile. And it's like they
Heck
get
yeah.
to, like, 10 years old and they figure out that he's making stuff up, but they appreciate it so much because it's like they get what he's doing and they figure out what he's doing too, and it's just like, I don't think I've ever read of a dad that loves his kids more. He doesn't care about anything in the world other than the fact that he loves his kids.
Dude, heck yeah. That's what I love. I love a good story with a good dad in it.
Yeah, it's a great like, especially because I know you have a girl too. It's like, as a girl dad, I'm like, "That's my guy."
Dude,
That's
the amount of stuff that'll make me cry as a girl dad.
oh, this one will make you
Ready,
cry.
dude. I'm so ready.
Yeah, this one will probably make you cry. I
Oh,
I was
man.
like I teared up at the end, and I was like, "Ugh, who's
Oh, no.
Canadians in here?"
Oh, man. I would have to say, for me in the other category, what would the number 3 be? I know my number 2 and my number 1 just off rip. Oh, that's the easiest thing I've ever done my entire life. Something is Killing the Children, volume 2. It's the
I've never seen that
hardcover
one.
it's the hardcover deluxe edition of volume 2. It's a graphic novel.
Okay.
So for me, it would I think it would have to fall into, like, the other category. Um, it is essentially children create monsters, and they can only see them. So there are a lot of things that happen that are unexplained or, blamed on animal attacks or whatever the case is, but a kid believes hard enough in the boogeyman shows up. And there's this group of people, who, as far as I can tell, are made up of children who were rescued from situations like this, that have the sight and can see them, and they go into these towns and they handle the business. Book 1, or volume 1, because I think it's like maybe 15 issues, 15 to 30 issues, per hardcover deluxe edition. Um, the first arc was incredible. One of the best. It's like a horror, fantasy story. Like, it's incredibly good. Um, and it's got these, like, really, like, visceral horror elements to it. And just so, so good. But volume 2, I got and read earlier this year in January. Um, and it just the way the story continued, it's my background on my computer. Like, it's Erica Slaughter, also in the top 5 book baddies of all time. Just an incredibly badass character. Just so, so cool. It's one of those that, like, there's some heart to it. It kind of, can tug at your heartstrings a little bit because of the subject matter of there are kids getting, mauled by a creature they imagined. And there's especially in the first book, there's this, like, really interesting instance of a kid finding out that he's the one who created this thing that killed his friends, and there's that, like, guilt to it.
Oh, dang.
So, so good. But that would have to be number 3 for me. I didn't read as many graphic novels this year as I would have liked to. I still have quite a few things that I need to read this year, or coming up. And it just Something is Killing the Children is one of my favorite stories of all time, and volume 2 just kept it going. It was incredible. It's well worth checking out.
That sounds very cool.
Dude, heck yeah.
Alright, number 2 for me, this is technically considered sci-fi, and this I feel like all of the books in my other technically could be in a different genre, but this didn't read like sci-fi to me. It's called Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor, and I've read a bunch of her sci-fi, and, um, it's all based out of Africa for the most part. Like, Binti is a really cool, trilogy of novellas, but this one didn't read like sci-fi in my opinion. The core of the story isn't sci-fi. It's about a disabled woman who writes sci-fi. Um, what's cool about it is that you get to go through her life, and she gets fired as like a college professor, has to move back in with her parents. And she is in a wheelchair, and her parents like kind of like over helicopter parent her because of her disability. And then she's not even like a sci-fi fan, but she writes this banger sci-fi book, and it gets picked up and published and turned into movies, and she gets rich and her whole life changes. But so it's like you get to see her life happening, and then throughout the book you're reading chapters of her book. So it's like this really cool way of like you're seeing her story, and then you also get to read the story she wrote.
That's
So,
awesome.
like, that part of it is sci-fi, but, like, the overarching feel of the book isn't sci-fi. It's more just, like, you're in someone's life, and you're, like, getting to see the highs and lows of, um, of their life. You see
Yeah.
them in, not quite their parents' basement, but, she's in her late 20s, I believe, in her parents' house and not real happy about it. And, then you get to see, like, the peak of her life, and it's just really cool.
Dude, that's awesome. I think that sounds like an incredibly uniquely written story as
Yeah,
well,
it
so
it
I
was because it was like, you get to read chapters of her book, and you're like, "Dang, she did write a good sci-fi book." It like,
heck
the concept is so cool, and then I don't wanna spoil anything, but the things at the end get really crazy in a really cool way.
heck yeah, dude. It's called The Death of the Author?
Yeah, death of the author, which I guess is I think that's a term that's used about writers. Um, I don't really I mean, I'm not an author, so, I hadn't heard it before, but I did look it up, and it's, like, a term that is used about authors when, I forget what the exact definition was, but it has to do with, when they, like, kind of reach their peak in writing or what they
Interesting.
believe to be their peak, something along those lines.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a very like, that's why I couldn't put it on the sci-fi list because it's, like, it's so different than anything I've ever read. It's, like, it's its own thing.
That's interesting. Um, my number 2 also, I think, is technically sci-fi. Um, I think, but I don't know if it's nearly as cool sounding as what you just described. Um, for my number 2 for the others would have to be, A Boy and His Dog at the End of the World, by C.A.
Hear
Fletcher.
I've heard of that one.
It's very good. Basically, there's a soft apocalypse, and like, the way the story starts is this kid is talking to you. And it's written in a really eerie way where the kid finds a picture later in the story, and you find out that you're the person he's talking to and that's who he's talking to. He's talking about the period of time that we live in currently as if it is the past. It's this like post-apocalyptic, soft apocalypse where people just became infertile, stopped having kids. And slowly but surely, the human race dies out. And there are small pockets where people were able to have children. And he's one of those children. And so he lives on an island. Every now and then, some people show up and they trade with him. And one of the people they trade with steals his dog. Uh, and, and
John Wick.
he John Wicks it, dude. He is so pissed. He's so mad. The guy, like, poisons them and steals his dog and steals a bunch of their stuff, and he has never been off the island that they live on, but he hops on a boat, and he goes to follow this guy and get his dog back, or one of his dogs back. He has another dog. Uh, and it's so strange because it's just this solo story of this kid exploring the ruins of the world that we live in today. And later in the book, he finds a picture of a person. And so he starts writing his story to the person. And that's the story that we pick up with in the beginning of the book. So he writes up to the point that he finds the picture, and you realize that's who he's writing to. But the whole time he's talking to you, and I've never had a book make me feel like a ghost, but this book,
That's a really interesting way. That's so funny that both of our number 2s kind of ended up on that same wavelength of, like, it's a
yeah,
very different way of telling a story.
it's very strange. And there's a twist at the end of the book that you kind of see coming, but don't see coming. Like it was a 5-star read. I was very emotional. It's just this like really beautiful take on uh growing up, being yourself, finding out who you are in a world that doesn't care who you are. And this truly is a world that doesn't care because people don't exist anymore. Like, like you have such a small footprint to leave. The world won't let you leave a larger one. And it's so, so beautiful. It's so well written. C.A. Fletcher is it's one of the best books I've read this year. And golly, I it's so good. I think you'd really it's very short. It's like 240 pages. Very short book.
You'll have to check it out.
Um,
That sounds really
Dude,
cool.
super quick read. I think it's like an 8-hour listen if you listen on
Yeah,
Audible. Like it's a very, very quick read.
that sounds very cool. And then
But
my number 1, I won't even say much about it because we talked about it when you were on the pod last time. I've talked about it so much. It's Stoner by John Williams. It's hands down the best book I read all year. Every month this year, I was like, "Did I read anything better than Stoner?" Because I read this back in either the end of January or beginning of February. I forget which. I think it carried over from January to February. But yeah, nothing. I've read some amazing books. Like there's some that Betty kind of came close. A book called Martyr came close. Some people call this historical fiction, maybe. I don't even know what to call it. It's slice of life. You follow most of this guy's his entire adult life from like 18 till his last breath. And it's just I've said a ton about it, but it's just you get uncomfortable and then get comfortable with the idea of just mundane life, just very average life. And what does that look like? What does that mean? How do you feel about that on your deathbed?
I still have to read it. Um, but just I think it how good of an author do you have to be able to write a boring, mundane life and make it one of the best books that someone's ever read?
Yep.
Like, that's so sick.
That's constantly what I think. And I'm not sure. He actually got banned from TikTok. I don't know why for really stupid reasons, but this guy's name's Dre. He is someone that does book reviews so well that it makes me feel like I don't even know how to do a book review. But his book club was reading it in December. So a bunch of my friends on Book Talk were reading it and a bunch of them were really loving it. And I'm like, I was a little nervous because I was like, I've been hyping it up all year. If they hate it, they're like they're gonna be mad at me. But so far, everyone's loving it. Like, one of my friends that's in the group, she read it in 2 days, I think, and it's just I don't it's just it's really beautifully done. It's like it really is. It's like super average dude with a super average life that makes a bunch of wrong decisions at times, but it feels so real because it's so relatable.
I I remember you talking about it when I was on last time, and just I need to get a copy. I need to read it. I have a buddy at work who just read Lonesome Dove. And he was like, "Dude, it was incredible. I'm gonna like start reading some books that I typically wouldn't pick up." And he bought Stoner. And I was like,
It's
"Hey,
Yeah, I think it's from the '60s, and it's had, like, a resurgence the last couple years. Because I remember in 2024, a couple people talking about it, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds cool." But I went in mostly blind, and it's just like I think I read it in 2 days too. It's just like well, I told some people, it's like they're like, "What's it about?" I'm like, "Nothing and everything." And that's such a BS answer, but once you get into it, you'll understand what I mean, and, like, it really is. That's what it is.
dude, I'm excited for my goal is before the next time, if you have me on again, before the next time I'm here, I will I will hopefully be reading this and
Yeah,
be able to talk
absolutely.
about it. A
I
whole
I
episode about Stoner.
We could do that. I would imagine I think you'll like it too. It's really well done.
Heck yeah, dude.
It's not a super flowery prose, but it's a very enjoyable prose. You really feel like you're in the late 1800s, like, he makes the world very real. Like, you feel like you could reach out and touch, the world that you're in reading it.
I see, mine's the complete opposite. Like, my number one's the complete opposite on the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
I love
Um,
that though.
dude, uh, Dungeon Crawler Carl. It's like not book 1, but book 5, The Butcher's Masquerade. Um, Dungeon Crawler Carl as a whole, just fantastical, great sci-fantasy story, D&D, uh, TTRPG, lit RPG, whatever you wanna call this, it is lit RPG is the correct term. Um, but if you're not familiar with it, essentially, a guy walks outside his apartment to get his ex-girlfriend's cat. The world flattens around him, and he is ushered into a stairway that appears, and he has to fight his way through a dungeon made up of all the materials and things that were crushed on Earth's surface. And it becomes this beautiful, surprisingly deep story. And book 5, I have not given any of the books 5 stars. I'm not super stingy with my 5 stars, but there's always a thing about the books that doesn't really check all the boxes for me. Book 5, The Butcher's Masquerade checks all the boxes. It's so incredibly good. And This Inevitable Ruin, book 7 is also, it teeters on the edge of a 5 star, but there were just some things that didn't really hit for me. Every book's not written for me, and I understand that. The Butcher's
Yeah.
Masquerade was written for me. Like, it was just so it checked every box for me. And the way that the world expands, the way that the AI is starting to become what the AI becomes. Are you how far into the series are you?
I've read the first 2.
Okay, I won't say anything crazy then. But by book 5, it just the world has become so expansive. In book 7, they start experimenting with, which they do at the tail end of the books, kind of, I think even in book 1 and 2, give you like different POVs of characters. Like the very last, like in the Ace published chapters, they have like from the Pineapple Club or whatever it's called, the Pineapple Lounge, I think. Um, but dude, it's just so, so good. It is one of the best books I've read all year, and just the heart that can be found in this wacky, whimsical story is so surprising to me.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the first 2. Um, I jumped into, again, Shiny Rock. Everyone was talking about, earlier this year. I read book 1, and then I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna keep going with this." And that's another on my list that I'm gonna keep working through next year. Probably won't finish, but at least a couple more. 'Cause it's a very cool world. It's a very crazy concept,
Yeah.
and but it's like once you're past that, like, I think some people had issue with that in the first book where it's like, it's abrupt, you get thrown into it. It is very different, but, like, as you're settling into it, especially in book 2, um, it's very cool.
Yeah, it's almost like Red Rising in the way that the first book just kind of isn't what the series is.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people like there was a creator who kind of I think he caught a lot of flack, and because he caught a lot of flack, I won't name him, but he caught a lot of flack for saying that he didn't like it and that it was like bro humor and that he couldn't find redeeming qualities in it. Um, that's okay. That's totally fine, and that is a very valid criticism. Um, I think that it is bro humor, and it is, like, super raunchy and super, like, late night movie type of vibes in book 1,
oh,
and
for
then book
sure, yeah.
2, um in book 2, there's a moment where he is talking about, he walks into a carnival and he gets this sense memory
Yep,
of, like, being at a carnival with his mother, and he was like, "I just now realized my mom wasn't crying over the hot dog," you know?
yeah.
Hold
I
on
remember that
one
part.
second for me.
Yeah,
Hold on. I have a child yelling at my door. Hold on one moment.
no problem.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, but yeah, my number 1 Stunned to Crawl or Crawl. Just a quick recap.
Yeah, there we go. And then from here, I guess we can jump into the romance, which is probably the category that a lot of people are the most interested in. So
Mine are
do you wanna start us off with your number 3?
Yeah, I'll start us off with my number 3. Um, and this ushered in my, monster romance girly era. This is Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue.
I've heard of that one.
Um, dude, it's interesting. I had a lot of complaints, about I'm not a, like, instant love, instant romance, insta lust kinda person,
I hate it.
and
I hate
we
it.
discussed it last time. I could not stand some of the decisions that are being made. I hate Box of Rocks characters, and this character in this book, uh, Ray, will never beat the Box of Rocks allegations. Like, she is dumb as a doornail, and makes the dumbest decisions possible, but they're fun and entertaining, and it's fun to read, and, like, it's just a good time. She, like, meets a demon and she's like, "Yo, you got a forked tongue, let me feel it on me." And it's interesting because the whole story and the trilogy, as far as I'm aware, all takes place at the same period of time through the perspectives of different women and their demon partners. And it's all, like, culminating in a specific event. And that to me is very cool. I think the lore in this is very cool. There's like a cult that like had a demon harnessed and they were using him for nefarious purposes. He gets released and falls for this lady. Very cool, very entertaining, very spicy. Um, this was my first foray into, like, monster romance, and, actually, I read Ice Planet Barbarians, but that was more aliens, but
Yeah,
this is,
I
dude,
read
this was
2 of
nuts.
those.
Yo, this was good, man. I actually really recommend this. This was a five-star read for me. Um, and then, yeah, I wanna read the rest of them. I really enjoyed this, and also the characters that are followed in the next couple of books are characters that are introduced in these books, and they were very interesting characters to me. Um, I think it's well worth the girth. I like it. It's a good story, good read.
I have heard good things about that one. My number 3 is a book called Forked by Ruth Cardello. This is I actually chose this for I we don't do it every month, but there's a group of us and we do buddy reads, and we usually always choose unhinged books. And I had another friend on Book Talk that last year read this while she was live. And she's like a speed reader, so she read it in 2 lives. And it's so silly. The concept is so ridiculous sounding, but basically it's a young I think she's in her early 20s. She lives in Rhode Island, and she ends up discovering that she has this fork that she, got at a thrift store, I think. It's like a real silver vintage fork, and it turns out that it's sentient, and there is a guy's soul trapped in it, and he was, a soldier in a secret program in World War II. And it sounds so ridiculous, but it's spicy, but not overly spicy, and it's like it's so ridiculous, but there's a lot of cute buildup. It's not insta love. Um, there's a lot of cute banter. It just it's really fun. It's a trilogy. I haven't read the other 2 yet, but I think what is it? It's like, Forked, Spooned, and I forget the 3rd one, but, turns out that there's more super soldiers hidden in that silverware.
That's crazy.
It's so crazy, and
Dude, I
it's
love that.
so unexpected, but but the romance part is, it's very cutesy, she's a super awkward, dorky girl that can't get a boyfriend, and just happens upon this guy he's got the manners of a dude from 1940, so, he's very chivalrous and, she is so smitten with that. And it's just, it's so funny how it all happens, he doesn't know modern cars, and he ends up in the world in a physical form, and, it's ridiculous, but it's so cute.
Dude dude, I dig it. I love I've got a book called Why Cheese, that I need to read that my buddy Caitlin sent to me, which is essentially like men that turn into cheese, and this lady has to keep them from being eaten.
I've
And
heard of that one.
dude, I just love, like I love the idea that there are people out there who are writing these stories, and they're fun. You know, the people who write these stories are super fun. Like that, I
Yeah.
feel like they have to be super fun people to talk to.
Shout out Ruth Cardello who wrote this. She's also been on the podcast, and
Heck yeah.
she is, the nicest woman, and I wish more people would watch that episode because she's been independently published for since, 2011. I'd have to check, exactly when, but she ended up getting signed too. She sold over 1,000,000 copies of books. She's a New York Times bestseller. She's, a Yahoo Books bestseller. She's written a ton of books. This is, her fun self-published series. She has this billionaire series that I haven't gotten into yet that I think has, 30 or 40 books. That's what she's known for. I happened across her silly, sentient romance trilogy, but she's, the kindest person who was offering so much fantastic advice for new authors. Um, and that episode was it performed kind of mid, and I'm like, "Ah, more writers need to hear this." She was so open about giving advice and what to do, what not to do, mistakes to avoid. Super, super cool woman. Very, very
Dude, that's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Speaking of cool authors, my number, what is this, 2?
Number
Am
2.
I on
Yeah.
2? Okay, yeah. My number 2 is also a super cool author. Um, Shout out Brynn Weaver. She's great. She has been nothing but kind to me. And it pains me to put this at number 2, truly because it has been the best romance book that I ever read all year until it was usurped, until it was, dethroned. Um, Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver is
Fantastic read.
fantastic, dude, so good. Slow burn, perfect
Super
build
slow
up,
burn.
super slow burn, dude,
When I read
75%.
I read that in 2024, fall 2024, I did a buddy read. Um, and when I read it, I was like, "Why is nobody talking about the fact that this is slow burn?" Because it's like it got to a point where I was like, "Is it even gonna happen?" I was like, "I know it must because it's spicy book, but, like,
Yeah.
the best banter."
So good. So good, dude. The best banter, the best plot of any romance book that I have read until this was usurped, until this was dethroned. And I still think there is a point there's an argument to be made that this is still the best plot to any romance. I think this is such a fun book because of the subject matter and because of how blatantly this just plays with the blurred lines of, like, you should not like these people.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting that because to me, I've always read books where, like, the lines are pretty, like, black and white, and then obviously grimdark, it gets a little gray and gets a little fuzzy, but any of the romance books that I have read, some of the characters suck. Some of them aren't super, like, super well developed, and they're exhibiting behaviors that are just as a regular person, I'm like, "That's not good. That's
yeah,
not good. You should not want someone who stands outside your window and breathes heavily onto you while you sleep. Like, you shouldn't
yeah,
want that.
yeah.
That is objectively bad." But when I'm reading this and they're gouging people's eyeballs out, I'm like, "This is great. They're 10 out of
Well, that's
10
like
people."
and Butcher and Blackbird was sold to me as, dark romance, and I would push back against that, and I would say it's dark, but it's a rom-com. Like, at its core,
Yes.
that's a rom-com with serial killers.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
agree.
rom-com with, like, bad people, but they're bad in, like, the traditional sense, but they're not bad to each other.
Exactly. And they're like, again, like you said, top tier banter. Um, Truly, and this is one thing that I think Bryn Weaver does incredibly well. And I think maybe even you and I, like, touched on this, and if we didn't, I know I have discussed this in a video before, is Bryn Weaver, she writes from the male perspective like she has an inside man.
Yeah,
Like, she writes like, there are so many times where I'm reading the perspective of a male character in a romance book, and I'm like, "Dude, that's never crossed my mind ever." That singular thought has never crossed my mind. Like, I've never looked at a person and been like, "I wonder what it looks like if they're buried in my crotch," like, their face.
yeah.
If I can't see their face and it's just in my crotch, you know? Like, I hate that it's the immediate sexualization of the female character, from the perspective of the male, and it's disheartening because I don't want people to think that, like, and I'm sure there are dudes who, like, all they see are, like, walking, objects, you know, like, and that's terrible, but that's not how I think, and so it's hard for me to relate to a character like that, especially in a book where, like, I try to give the benefit of the doubt because 'cause I'm like, dudes write bad female characters all the time. Like,
Oh, yeah.
guys
Oh, for
dude,
sure.
guys are notorious for writing the Manic Pixie Dream Girl is some 40-year-old guy's fantasy of, like,
Yeah,
what he wanted as a teenager. Like, and it's bad, it's terrible,
it's real
objectively
yeah,
horrible. So,
absolutely
like,
agree.
I can't be mad when I see a character, like a male character especially, that's, like, that doesn't exactly reflect who I am. It reflects, like, the specific fantasy of the author, and that's totally fine. But Bryn Weaver, she found the vein, dude. She tapped into something. Because when I read the characters that she has written, like the male characters, there are some things that I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna, like, stab a guy," but especially during the spicy scenes, the things that they're drawn to, the things that they're looking at, the things they're, like, thinking, and especially sometimes things that they're saying are things that I'm like, "Dude, she has an inside guy, and he's in my brain right now." 'Cause it's the only And that's what, like, sold me on it, because like, the rest of it, I was already bought in. I was like, "Okay, this is great," and then I bought 2 more timeshares when I started reading the spicy stuff, and the best part about that happening 75% into the book is that I got to really care about the characters, and then I wasn't ejected from the cockpit and had to, like, fall back down to reality and be like, "Wow, this is once again disappointing," like,
Yeah.
"Oh, man, I don't think like that. I've never growled," like, stuff like that, and then she does whatever it is that she's doing. Shout out Brynn Weaver. I love you. You're the best. But yeah, Butcher and Blackbird, God, it's so good, and it hurts that it's number 2, but number 1, again, speaks to how good number 1 is.
Well, my number 2 is from none other than Bryn Weaver, and
Let's go.
it's Leather and Lark. So
Let's go.
I read that one this year. I like it a tiny bit less than Butcher and Blackbird. I did like Butcher and Blackbird, I'd probably put it, like, maybe even a 4.5, 4.25, and I would put Leather and Lark just below it.
Okay.
I think Butcher and Blackbird did the slow burn better, and I think the situation of, how the relationship came to be was more fun to me.
Okay.
But
I have not read Leather and Lark.
Leather and Lark has has great banter. I mean, all of the things that you love about Butcher and Blackbird are there. It's just like it's different characters. Obviously, it's like, you know, it's, they're brothers, so it's like it's the same family, same universe, same world, same reality. But, the love story in this one is it's kind of like I'm not good with all the tropes, but it's kind of like a forced marriage situation rather than like 2 people who start off not like really liking each other, falling in love naturally. This is like 2 people who don't like each other had to get married and then deciding they liked it. And it's like so it's like it's similar, but that little difference was just didn't work quite as well for me, but still a really fun read, and Bryn Weaver does all of the Bryn Weaver things again.
Dude, I is so it's on my list to finish, the Ruinous Love trilogy because Brynn Weaver does Brynn Weaver things very well. She actually is coming to a bookstore to promote the sequel to, uh we'll do a segue. My number 1 book, tourist season, is Brenfest 2025 up in this piece. She dude, uh, I she's coming to Spartanburg, and I cannot wait to be like, "Hey, you're the best in
Yeah.
person." Just like, I love you. Like, you're the best, dude. So I do want to like, I do wanna read the rest of the Ruinous Love trilogy, and I have heard that, and not to spoil my number 1, but I think anyone who knows me knew that was gonna be number 1. But I have heard that, a lot of people felt like Leather and Lark was a little bit of a dip, and then, it kinda picks back up with book 3.
Yeah, I've Leather and Lark seems to be very divisive. It seems to be that people either really, really loved it or people were like kind of meh.
Yeah.
Like there doesn't seem to be a lot of middle ground on that one. I haven't heard anyone that hated it, but like it's either everyone's favorite in the series or they're like, yep, this is a book
Yeah,
two.
it's a sophomore slump.
Yep.
Which I hope doesn't happen, for the next, what is it? I don't know. I can't remember. Harvest Season, I think, is her book 2 for, the tourist season. The Seasons of Carnage trilogy is what it's called. But, um, yeah, keeping the brain train going, my number 1 is tourist season. It's so, so, so good. It almost feels like in the same way that the heroes and the standalones for, The World of the First Law are just all the good things about the First Law condensed into one, like, it's synthesized, we drop it on there, and that's it takes you to space.
Yeah.
Um, Tourist Season does that. The banter in this book is top tier. The plot is interesting. It's not as fun, in my opinion. It is not as fun, of a plot progression as Butcher and Blackbird because Butcher and Blackbird had the game aspect to it. Like, it was
Right.
like, who's gonna find what? What was the next serial killer gonna be? You know, how is it gonna get how are they gonna get taken out? Um, there are she's still doing messed up stuff with food, but this is just the ending of this book set it over the edge for me, um, and anyone who like, I when I posted my video about this book, I was like, "If you've read this book and you wanna talk about the endings, feel free to send me a message." I actually never get messages, like, ever. I got so many messages about the end of this
Oh,
book. Like, so many people were like, "Yes, the ending." Because like, very rarely will people, like, reach out to talk about, like, a thought that I had about a book because 'cause they're dumb thoughts, and that's fine. But this book, the ending of this book, I think just had so many people, like, on the edge of their seats, so frustrated. I messaged Bryn Weaver, I was like, "Hey, why would you do that? That's really messed up, that's super evil."
that makes me wanna read it a whole lot more
Dude, it
because now I'm real curious.
so this is I don't even wanna say lust. It's very quick interactions. Uh, an interaction happens fairly quickly. And it's like very like, I think the difference there's a lot of times in romance where people are writing a thing and I feel like it's hard to really make the distinction between I find you attractive, I'm gonna jump into bed with you in
Yeah,
romance. And so that is kind of where the distinction is made here, where they find each other attractive and then they immediately are like, nah, I hate you. And so this is like very enemies to lovers, um, very quickly to lovers. Sorry to spoil anything for you folks, but it's very early on in this book where it happens. And then they grow to like really, uh, the
liking
story
each
is yeah, the story's so good. It ties into, the Ruinous Love trilogy in a really cool way. Um, it's my Marvel Cinematic Universe of romance. It's so good.
That's such a good
Um,
description.
dude, it truly is like this feels like the post-credit scene where, like, Damian Porter, was like, "Oh, this color purple Thanos." And he's like, "I guess I'll do it myself." Like, that's what this book felt like in the grand scheme of everything, and I was like, "Oh, shoot, this is crazy."
That's awesome.
Um, I think his name was Damian Por if it's not, I feel bad. But
I forget.
he was the original guy, like, he was the stunt actor. But
Right.
either way, so, so good. You should definitely read. Quick read, very good, very funny. And then just the cast of characters. Megan Weaver continues to prove herself a master of side characters that steal the show. There are side characters in this book that just every single second with them is incredible. And then it also tackles like um it tackles really tough themes regarding um like I'm trying to think of the best way to say it sensitively, and I think she says it in the book, so I might, steal this from her. Um, do, 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 do. Do, do, do. This is yes. So acute brain injuries, dementia, Alzheimer's, degenerative brain disorders and diseases. Um, and it handles it in such a lovely way. I had a buddy, one of my best friends, not growing up in my late teens, so still kind of growing up. His grandfather had Alzheimer's, and so it was something that while I was not directly affected by it, I did get to see how the people who were directly affected by it felt.
Right.
Um, and so seeing some of his episodes firsthand and then seeing how the people who loved him dealt with that, reading this book, it handled it so, so well. At least in my opinion, as someone from the outside looking in my experience, I think she did it incredibly well, which is a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to like it's a curveball to throw into a like serial killer romance story, is, like, handling that subject matter very well,
Right.
and she did it incredibly well. But
I'm
number 1,
definitely gonna have to bump that up the romance TBR.
so good. It's so good. Alright, Jason, where
Number
do you
1
land?
is When We Had Forever by Shaylin Gandhi, another podcast alumni. Um, on the podcast, she said that she writes angsty kissy books. That's how she describes them, and this is definitely that. It is I don't wanna give I don't wanna give any spoilers away, but it has there's a subplot of twins and potentially having fallen in love with the wrong twin, and there is a death and reconnecting, and a lot goes wrong, and, things get really tense, but it is just like it's in one sense, it's a slow burn, and then there's a twist I don't wanna give away where it's like, maybe it wasn't, like, it's a really cute, fun, angsty kissing book, like, that's really, like when she said that, and I had just read it, and I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly what you wrote," like, you nailed that description because that's exactly what it was, and it's really fun. It's a pretty quick read. I immersive read it, the audio is well done too, it's nothing like not the most amazing performance, but it's like there's definitely a lot of emotion in it, and, so it was a really fun read.
Heck yeah. Where how did you come across the book?
I came across it on TikTok. Her and I ended up following each other, and she was promoting it, and I read it, and then I was like, "You do you wanna be on the podcast? That was a really cool book, like, let's talk." And I think she would comment on a bunch of my stuff because I think she was surprised that there was, like, some dudes out there that were willing to read angsty kissy books, and I was like, "No, we exist, we're out here."
Yeah, dude,
But
that's
it was
almost exclusively the kissing I've ever done was angsty kissing. So, like,
it it it's, like, I don't wanna give away too much because I do hope some people will check it out 'cause it is, and it's a traditionally published book. Some of the romance I had on was indie stuff, but you can find it at Barnes& and Noble. Every time I see it, I turn it out so that people can get a better look at it. Um, it was a lot of fun. It was a good one. She just came out with a new one I haven't read yet that, in December that I have to check out that also sounds really good. She seems to have, like, the reconnecting with someone from your past down well because the new one is about that as well.
heck yeah. I'll check it out. I actually wonder if my wife has it because the title sounds very familiar. And I always, like, scan my wife's shelf to see if she's added anything new that I didn't see before.
Yeah,
And so I'll check it out, see if she has that. But, like, angsty kissing sounds incredibly fun. Um, and also, I love good romance books. And if this
yeah,
is your number 1, I gotta give it a shot.
it's a good one, and Shaylin, she's a really cool person too. I found out on the podcast that, she's about my age, and she had, like she was talking about her job before writing, and it's like she's like, "Oh, yeah, I was a doctor." And I was like, "Wait, run that back?" She's like, "Oh, yeah." She was like, "For, like, 10 years." She's like, she's like, I started writing, and then I got picked up by, an agent, and then that kinda just shifted my career." And I was like, "That's incredible." Like, you were, like, super accomplished, and then you're like, "No, I really just wanna write," like, angsty romance books. And I was like, "That's so freaking awesome."
Dude, that's truly for the love of the game. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Dude, that is sick. It sounds like you had an incredible year of reading. Like,
I really did. I'm looking back now, and there was a couple times where I felt like I wasn't accomplishing goals, and I think that's why next year I really wanna not focus on the number so much. I think something that really reset my year because I felt like after the summer, I was struggling a little bit. I did a TBR jar for October and November, and it was all I took 2 months to do, like, dark academia, spooky adjacent books, and leaving it up to fate, like, just really worked for me because I was having decision paralysis big time over the summer, like, because there's so many books I wanna get to.
dude, I feel like, when we talked about it, you were using or when I was on last, you were using your TPR jar. Um, and I need to adopt that. one of my wife's friends slash coworkers, made her a TBR jar that was like a themed TBR jar of I picked up some of the stuff and like opened it, and it was like a book that takes place in a place you've never been, or a book from the perspective of a character with a name you don't like, something like random, like just like these random little uh, what are they called? Prompts
Yeah,
for a book, and I was like, "Dude, this is actually so sick. What an incredibly cool gift."
that is a
Uh,
really cool way to approach it too. But
yeah,
I did find that I don't know if I would wanna do it for the whole year, but even just taking, I think, at least a month. I know I'll do that again at some point. Pick a month and just let the TBR jar decide, because it really is like, 1, I got all good books. That now granted, that's a little
yeah,
bit lucky because I threw 26 books in there and I read a little over half of them over the course of a couple months, and it was like every single one worked out. Like, there was one I rated 3.5 stars, but it was like it was still really fun. Like, it was a good read, had a good time, didn't feel like I was having to work to get through it, like,
yeah,
and I think I'm gonna try and focus on that feeling more and take some of the pressure off, because I think mid-year I put too much pressure on it, and I think that's gonna be my lesson of 2025. That's what I'm gonna, take away from the year is, like, keep it fun.
yeah. I agree. Same here. That is exactly what I need to do, especially after like a rough October, a rough November, and then a December where I have felt like even though I'm doing what's fun and what I enjoy doing, I've still kind of felt like I'm letting uh, the viewership down in some way, shape, or form by not reading the stuff that maybe was recommended or is being talked about currently. I want to kind of take that same route of like keeping it fun, making sure that I'm the whole idea and the whole purpose of creating book content is just to share a love of stories.
Exactly.
I don't wanna read stories I don't love. You're
Yeah,
going to by the nature of it, like, that's the nature of the beast, like, you read a story that's not great, but I don't have to actively seek out stories that I'm not trying to read, and so that's my kinda goal for 2026 is to stay on that path of things that feel like it'll be good, uh, when I go to look at it, when I go to pick it up instead of feeling forced into a corner of reading.
yeah. Yeah, I think when you put any type of pressure on it, even if you end up liking the book, it doesn't have the same impact that it would have otherwise. And I know at my core I'm a mood reader, and I'm just gonna fully, like, just fully lean into it, accept it's who I am,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna, like, whatever I'm feeling is gonna make me happy that week, that day, or that time of day even. That's what I'm gonna jump into.
Heck
And I'm not gonna worry, like, part of me wants to set my reading goal at 1 book, and then the entire year I'm in,
crushing it.
I'm in bonus time, like, there's a
Heck
part of
yeah.
me that wants to do that just to, because I know how my brain works. Like, if there is a number, like, I did it this year with 100 even though my goal was 52. Because I read 100 last year, my brain all year in the back of my mind was like, You gotta hit that 100 again. You did it last year."
Yeah.
And, like, it was only, like, 2 weeks ago. I accepted I wasn't gonna hit it, and I felt so much better since then. So I'm like, set the goal at 1, and then the whole year is just whatever happens, happens.
Dude, that'd be honestly a killer post to make too. Like, I already hit my reading goal for
Yeah.
2026, dude.
Yeah, day 1.
Oh, yeah,
We're in the
just
bonus
checked it
round
out.
now.
Heck yeah, dude. No, I'm excited for 2026, especially looking at the shelves and seeing all the books that people have spoken about highly and things that I have wanted to read. I think I've still got some good stories ahead of me, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm super excited as well. I think this is probably a good point to wrap this up. This is gonna be a long one for everybody, but I hope everyone enjoys this. I wanted to have someone join me to wrap up the year. I didn't wanna just do this by myself. I think it's fun to compare and contrast and see, some similarities in the books we read and some differences, and I had a great time as I did last time. Thank you so much for joining me.
Dude, thank you for having me. I appreciate you letting me wrap the year up, and being a part of this with you and having me on again. I hope you'll wanna have some more, long-winded conversations with me again,
Oh,
later
absolutely.
on.
Maybe, February, somewhere thereabouts, we can jump on and talk about how the start of the year is going.
Dude, heck yeah. I apologize to, editor Jason for this one 'cause it's a longer one.
It'll be alright. Last week's was pretty short, so it'll even out.
Heck yeah, dude. Well, thank
Alright,
you again for having me.
as always, everybody, thank you so much for taking some time out of your week to join me on Books and Beyond. If you like this episode and you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing, hit that like button, and if you're really feeling generous at the end of the year, go leave 5 stars on one of the podcast platforms. That actually helps a ton. Alright, let me stop recording.